Here, connecting to cloud server. Okay. Okay. You still there?
Yes, I have
Okay.
been. I did lose internet connection a couple times in the last half hour, so hopefully no more.
Okay. It does say that I'm recording, and I'm trying to look for somewhere where that is sort of indicating. So I'm going to go with the fact that I've been told by Zoom that I am recording. There it is. Yes, I am. Okay. I'm going to start. All right. It's Crockett 36, and I am doing another interview. Love to do these things. Love meeting people who love the game, love to roll some dice, World War II, all those connections. And tonight we're here with Gamerman01. And if you've ever been to accessanalyze.org, you know that he is the moderator and has been for quite a while. I also just saw that my internet is a little unstable, so I'm going to kick my phones off there just to make sure that I've got the most bandwidth. All right, you're still with me? And
Yep.
would you mind introducing yourself and giving as much bio information as you'd like to? Gamerman01.
Okay. I live in Southeast Iowa and always have, never left. Grew up on a farm. I have 9 siblings, and I'm towards the end.
Wow, okay. Yep.
Yes. Grew up in a board game playing family, but I was usually playing by myself.
Very good.
Uh,
I have
yeah.
7 children myself, and I grew up on a farm as well. Although my dad sort of gave up the farming ways for doing junk cars. But later in life, my brother was a welder, and he encouraged my mom, and my mom allowed him to restart raising cows. Was yours a cow farm?
No animals. My dad grew up with those and swore them off.
Okay.
No animals, just a grain farm.
Okay. Which grain? Was it corn or wheat?
Corn and beans, but he liked to branch out and experiment with other things. Like he even grew barley. He grew winter wheat.
Oh,
He grew things that the neighbors they thought he was crazy, but
really?
it
Wow.
usually worked out. Yep, and
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes he'd put in oats in July after the beans to get 2 crops out of the same ground.
No kidding. Wow, that's great. Huh. And how did you stumble upon our favorite? Oh, what? Oh, so would you like to say what you do for a living online? Or
Yes, I
else?
did forget that. And just a
Okay,
second,
sure.
will you leave me alone? I'm talking to my wife.
Okay, sure.
It's distracting to me to have an opinion. She can listen to it later. I am I audit local governments for a living, mainly towns. So I've been on my own for um about 12 years
Okay,
and have been growing it over that time. Just recently I've gotten to capacity. I've got lots of business.
excellent.
Thank
Great,
you.
great.
Thank you.
Um, sounds like a necessary job. Where did you stumble upon our favorite game, Axis Allies, and when
Mhm.
did you stumble upon that?
Well, it's a long time ago, so it's hard to remember, but I was probably between 10 and 12 years old. Um, Dad had taken me up to Big Town for some reason. It's about 50 miles away. That's the Quad Cities in Iowa, borders Iowa and Illinois. And so we must have been in a game or hobby shop. And I was looking around, saw the original classic. I have it here. And the back, the bottom has like this picture of India with these army men on it,
Yeah.
and chips. And this was about 1986 or 87. So
Okay.
I was enthralled. There was nothing like that I'd ever seen. So I asked Dad if I could buy it. It was $20. He said no.
Oh,
I said, why not? Well, Dad was born in 1928. He was 17 when the war ended. His
okay,
brother was in it. He was shot in
okay.
action,
Yeah,
wounded by a Japanese sniper in the Philippines.
no
The
kidding.
war was too real for him.
Mhm.
He didn't want me having that. So it was a few years later, my relatives, my nephew, who's about my age, remember I have I have 9 siblings, I'm one of 10.
Mhm.
They got the board game from the parents. And so it wasn't long till I got to play it. And they'd already had a head start on me. My actually my nephew is my age, and he was a regular on ana.org.
Oh,
People who've been around for a while know him as Bold Fresh.
okay.
And he played a lot. He is the number 8 top poster on the site to this
Oh,
day,
no
even though
kidding.
he hasn't been on for a long time. I'm number 5.
No kidding.
A lot of this is because we played the anniversary edition A50 from 2009 to 11. And that was in A battle map days. So we
Ah,
were typing in every move, and we were typing in every dice roll.
wow.
Were separate posts. And
Right.
so the guys that were with us back then, are a lot of those are the top posters.
Sure.
So we played each other a lot. We were rivals growing up. When we found ana.org when we were in our mid 30s,
Yeah.
and we played a lot. And yeah, a lot of great stories there. So backing up
Sure.
to I was about 15 when they got the game,
Okay.
and he had a younger brother also, and he would only been about 11 or 12, but smart kids. So I played my first game against his little brother, and it wasn't too long. They let me borrow it because they weren't playing it. So
Okay.
I got Access and Allies for free
Oh,
and took that back to my farmhouse and set that up on the floor, uh, where I could leave it up for days.
yeah.
And I played against myself
Sure.
a lot.
Right.
And I got good pretty fast. Um, that's the classic. So I figured out pretty quickly that, well, my nephew, Bold Fresh, is very aggressive player, and he influences my play style to this day. I
Okay.
am always watching for what can be done by the Axis several moves in advance,
Gotcha.
because he would always try to steamroll Russia as fast as possible, and he was good at it. So
Sure.
he started with 32 with Germany. Tanks were 5, 6 tanks,
Yeah.
save 2.
Sure.
And so I practiced against that without him really knowing that. And I got pretty good at Russia and the Allies. So I would buy 8 men on Russia 1 with their
Sure.
24. And the first time he came over to my house to challenge me, he bought his 6 tanks. I bought my 8 men. And he said, you can't do that. I said, I have 24. They're 3 IPCs apiece. Yes, I can. He said, no, that's unrealistic. Russia couldn't possibly field that many men.
Wow.
So we had quite an argument, which was normal.
Sure.
And I stood my ground, and I bought 8 men, and he lost. And he knew he was going to lose, which was as painful. He knew
Sure.
if I just bought men all the time, he would
Yeah.
lose. It wasn't
Yeah.
until, well, yeah. So that's how it started. I turned 16, and then I was able to drive. And I took a solo trip up to the big town, for the sole purpose of buying Axis and Allies second
Oh.
edition. And I was pretty excited all the way up, all the way back. It probably cost more than $20 by then. It was probably 30.
Yeah.
And then I played on my own. So my teenage years, I played it some, and then it was pretty much dormant. I got married young and
Sure.
it was about 35 till I found out it was online,
Yeah.
and then I could play people. Revised was still there at that time,
Hmm.
but AA50 splashed on the scene,
Yeah.
and I love that game. That's my favorite one. I'm
Yeah.
still sad that G40 came out and steamrolled it because now
Sure.
nobody wants to play it.
Yeah.
But it introduced your another chart of technologies. Now there's 12.
Yes.
It introduced tech tokens. So
Yes.
you kept your money. You can only get one at a time. The classic, you could roll all 6 at once if you got
Yeah.
enough. And so AA50, it added Italy as a playable power.
Sure.
That was a big deal because partly because Germany can't just control the Italians like they're their own.
Right. Right.
And it made the turns alternate.
Yeah. Slowing down a little bit. Cher, could you unplug the TV, hun? Got a little bit of a lag right now. Not sure if it's your end or my end. So I'm going to unplug the TV, and maybe if you could use cellular data. Waiting for you to come back to me. Hopefully you come back to me. Thank you, hon. And if you could switch off your Wi-Fi. Gamerman might have been on his end. Are you here? Can I pause this? I'm going to pause. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's just a memory from Classic that
Yeah.
After Japan, things would look pretty grim for the Allies, but by the time USA and then Russia went, it didn't look so bad anymore.
Right. Sure.
So I really preferred playing the Allies ever since I was a teenager.
Here, here.
Yeah, well, they're
I'm a
the
big,
good guys.
they're the good guys. That's right.
But I thought, there's several reasons for that.
Sure.
In most of the games, they had more money, so you could buy more things. They had the money for tech. They had the luxury of spending some money on some tech.
Sure.
They get to work together a lot.
Mhm.
They have a lot of options, a lot of decisions to make. The Axis have more of you'd better do this and you'd better do it fast.
Right. Right.
Um,
I played a game of BBR this last weekend, and I felt like that was on steroids. That we had a
really?
player that was playing as if it was G40, and there are so many benchmarks that he had to reach, check, and he was doing well, but he wasn't hitting benchmarks. Oh my goodness! So you're right that right away the Axis have to do. By the way, I know that good captain, and he loves classic, and he loves classic anniversary. So if you
Nice.
ever want to get into games, and I would always be open for a game of anniversary. It's you're right that emotionally speaking, anniversary did take all of Axis and Allies to a whole nother level, and it was great. So
Yeah, that's right. There were even more factors. I think the 50th anniversary was the first one that overhauled the fleet rules. So you weren't taking transports as fodder, and transports weren't shooting down your bombers
right.
like they did in Classic. You could have a heavy bomber that could just, basically nuclear weapons.
Oh
They could
my goodness.
annihilate the board, and a transport could shoot it down.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
those days are long gone, but there so yeah, the fleet rules being overhauled, and also the national objectives concept was introduced in AA50. So all those huge improvements in one game. So everybody was playing that from about 09 to 11. I played a lot on ana.org. That's basically the only place I play, and I did very well.
Good.
Championship one year, runner up another year.
Awesome.
And so I started making a name for myself, even though I tried to play Axis and Allies for fun, not to
Sure.
beat everybody.
Yeah.
But once I got online, I found that I was very good.
Yeah. Excellent. Um, so so you're saying, I think, that Axis and Allies uh anniversary is your favorite,
Yes, it is.
and the Allies are your favorite side.
Yep.
And that's remained true with Global 40.
Yes, with the Allies being my favorite side, yes.
Okay. And which nation is your favorite nation?
It is actually Russia.
Okay.
This
Good.
goes back to, it's been my favorite since I started playing Classic, and that has been about 33 years.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard to believe that. It's hard to believe that. But when I guess it started with trying to stop young Bold Fresh's bum rush
Sure.
that was unstoppable. He bragged about how it was completely unstoppable. Nobody could stop it. He'd only played his little brother, but nobody in the world could stop it.
Sure. Sure.
And so I studied Russia. I found that I actually really enjoy the land war. I enjoy
Hmm.
not having boats to figure out. I
Yes.
enjoy not really having much for planes.
Yep.
And I got really good at Russia. And when I got online years later, I found that I had Russia was really my strongest. It was my standout
Mm,
power compared to other people. I almost never lose Moscow,
that's
and
awesome.
that's true in G40 as well. Um, Now in my last in the championship game for the balanced mod that we just finished up, I played Farm Boy
Okay.
in December. We finished it, and I saw that Moscow was going to fall on round 18 or 19, so I held it that.
Oh, wow.
But I couldn't do without it, so I resigned on New
Oh,
Year's Eve,
oh,
which
wow.
is when you need to I needed it for my sixth game to
Yeah.
qualify for the playoffs for the next year, and
Ah,
that just kind of worked out. It was not a premature resignation. Uh, it was an incredible game.
mm,
Uh, but it's kind of, it was funny because that 6 game minimum rules, you had to play 6 games of the same version of the balanced mod version during a year to qualify for the playoffs. That was my own rule. So my own rule kind of squeezed me.
oh boy.
Yeah,
So,
so it's been a, go ahead.
were you, I don't keep track of balance mod. Were you, was that
No.
the championship or was that the
Yes.
semifinals? Oh,
Yes.
oh, wow. No kidding. Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Well,
Thank you.
congratulations on being the runner up. That's amazing.
Thank you. As my first runner up, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I usually win.
Very good. Very good. Now, were you part of the balanced mode development team, or is that your?
No.
Okay,
And I'll be honest, sometimes I sound like I'm bragging, and I don't mean to do that.
sure,
But but I'm gonna admit that when the balance mod was made, I loved a lot of the changes. They were needed badly,
sure,
some of them. And but there were some things about it that annoyed me
sure,
and have annoyed me to this day, but they're small. It's overall it's better. Everybody's The majority of players in the league have been playing it for years and years. That's how good it is. So
sure,
on that team, I know a couple names of people who have played in the league and like regular kid. And I had the pleasure of playing with him in a team game with
oh,
the Path to Victory game that they had,
yes,
which has become more popular all along. Um, but Adam 514 is a big name on the Balance Mod team.
oh, wow,
And we might as well talk about him right now. Uh,
Yes, please do.
I've heard you ask about other players about who the best
Yes.
is, and I think they're going to name me, but they don't. They name Adam because he's a couple hundred points above everybody else on our
Wow.
ELO system. Doesn't matter without the ELO system. He's 15-0 one year, he's 36-1 another year, something like
Wow.
that. Uh, he's I always wondered where the guy is that really knows uh how to play Axis and Allies at the highest level, and I have not played him yet. But he must be it, judging by his records and his conquests and what people say after they get done with their thrashing.
Yeah,
Like, he just seems to be 3 moves ahead of me, 3 rounds ahead of me all the time.
sure,
And I don't know what just happened. Adam does lose because it's a dice game,
sure.
and but not very much. I win about 85% of my games.
Yeah.
Adam wins about 90.
Wow.
And drum roll, this year, actually within a month or maybe within a couple of weeks, we will be facing off.
Oh,
We are on a collision course in the playoffs, and I am prepared. I'm getting my Kleenexes out, ready to
yeah,
cry. Um, because he usually beats people up and takes their lunch money.
yeah. Now, does he like to play Axis or Allies?
That's the thing. He's scary good with both. So
Ah,
you can't bid him into his weak side. He doesn't have a weak side.
okay. Well, we have gifts and we have talents, and there are some people that are Mozarts, and that cannot be accounted for. So the best thing we can do, I think, a lot of times is like I do with my reviews, is to study them. Does he play out of box much? Do you know?
He did when before he developed the balance mod with the team.
Oh, he developed it. Okay,
I don't know that he was the lead. I said it like he was the lead.
sure.
He's in the credits,
Yep.
so
Okay.
he had a fair amount to do with it. He has played balanced mod. He had a lot to do with making it, so he immediately switched to balance mod and never played out of the box again.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I understand that.
Sure.
I don't like to play 2 different versions at the same time, but I am
Yeah.
actually
Mm.
trying to switch back to out of the box right now.
Yay.
I am also playing a new map that has been developed. They call it UHD. I don't know if that's ultra high definition or what, but it's a pretty map.
Yeah.
And the units are pretty. Like the infantry units, actually, you can see skin.
Oh, wow.
And but I'm totally disoriented. I'm in a fog. I'm playing Oistilo. He's
Oh,
in a
okay.
fog. We even threw tech in the mix. Nobody plays tech in G40. We just threw tech in there.
I love tech. Yeah, I don't know if you know it, but I call G40, not not a World War II game, because World War II was 1940, 1941, 42, 43, 44, 45. And by the end of the game, every tech in that game was used by one nation. And yet most people don't play with any of those techs.
Oh yeah,
Does that make sense?
a little bit. So I get the part you're saying when nobody plays with tech in G40, especially in the league, because it's very competitive.
Right.
They don't want new tech to throw them off.
Exactly. They don't want their script to be
Mhm.
destroyed. That's
Mhm.
playing a 1940 game, but it's not playing a World War II game, because
Mhm.
World War II, I mean, literally speaking,
Oh,
there were bombing raids where the bombing raids succeeded, and the Germans actually came up with a system with their spotlights and their anti-aircraft guns that was like 3 times more effective. And so the bombing raid before was devastating. The next bombing raid the next week, they shot down a remarkable number of bombers just because they coordinated their spotlights and their anti-aircraft guns. It was crazy. Tech was always developing.
yeah. So I'll dovetail with that too. I think even though I haven't played tech in G40, the reason I don't play tech in G40 is because the game's already complicated enough.
Okay.
I don't want to worry about what if all of his aircraft can fly an extra space this turn.
And that is that I do wonder if that's a bad mechanic, whether tech isn't implemented wrong. Because I mean, it would be nice to know, right? I mean, it'd be nice to get a little warning, because
On that one, yeah,
when all of those airplanes on the board suddenly all turn into
yeah,
one extra space.
yeah. That just ends the game, and nobody wants that.
Sure.
So actually, like I said, I am actually playing a tech game for the first time in forever.
Yeah.
With Oistilo. He's game for just for whatever. He's very, very easygoing guy.
Yeah.
And we agreed to delay long range aircraft the turn. So if you roll it and get it, you can't use it until the next turn so the other player can prepare for it.
Very good.
Everything else instant though.
Nice. So are you implementing and using a Axis Anniversary Edition tokens, or are you just it's roll the dice and see what
That's a great
happens?
question. I thought about it. We didn't, I guess he wasn't real keen on it, but he's just sitting there watching me waste my money.
Yeah.
I've rolled tech twice now and got nothing, so I wish I had tokens right now.
Sure. Sure. I do obviously prefer tokens. I'm not sure why Larry went back out of tokens. It seems to be. I mean, if you want anything, I think if you want tech tokens, you have to have tokens, really. Yeah. Um, but I've played many house rule games. I'm playing one right now where we are going to choose the tech. Each nation is going to be able to choose a tech per round. But the best tech that I know of was actually I played a grasshopper deluxe at his house, and he had a historical um, uh, chart. So round one, the Germans had super subs, which makes sense. Then they lost super subs turn two because the British caught up. Then they got German super subs turn three and lost them again turn four, something like that. And I've actually asked for the document, and the document's been lost with all of the stuff that went on and revisions and things like that. But I've tried to do them myself in a couple of games. I love tech, like I said, and I do like the unpredictability.
Yeah.
Even though it is tragic, I mean, it's. I play, and I know as a person who deals with numbers all the time, this might be a little difficult to get, but I'm very immersive. So it's the biggest example is the movie Miracle. It's the one with the U.S. hockey team in 1980.
Oh, okay. Yeah, against the USSR.
So great film. I don't know if you've seen it, but very good. The guy makes a speech in the locker room, and he says 9 times out of 10, these Russians can beat you, but not tonight. So that's what I like to play as. You might have great averages, but I'm playing as if this were the only game. So it's what I call immersive play. Instead of, hey, look, I have to have the W in the column, and it's all about playing enough so that I can. Yeah, not that I'm, not that I'm not going to look for that big battle in that climactic moment, Napoleonic battle. I'm not. I've sort of modified my. I see all these guys that avoid the big battle as much as possible. I think that's the best way you can do it. But I am definitely immersive. So you're shaking your head. React to that. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're making me think of a few things. One is
Sure, go for it.
the 9 times out of 10. See, that's what I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to say this is not that day when I'm playing Adam, because the numbers say I'm a big underdog.
Yes.
But I can play accordingly. And I think that's a big part of my success is I play the player, not the game.
Yes.
I figure out what they're gonna do and what they're not. I dare them to do what I want, what I'm hoping they'll do.
Sure.
But and with Adam, I'll just have to provide him bigger bait, and he probably won't take it, which means I'll have more units to send elsewhere. So You play everyone differently,
Sure.
actually. But I don't scope people out. I don't have the patience to go research their games, see what they like. Do they like to declare war on Japan? One. I'd rather just play them.
Sure.
But I've never I've never played somebody with the reputation and the notches in his belt that Adam's got.
Sure.
So I'm gonna have to research a little bit for the
Well,
first
it's,
time.
the funny thing is that uh, a lot of these guys, the difference between, good player, great player, the best player, at the very highest level, I feel like it's a little bit like the swimming competitions. The difference is going to be hundredths of a second, or even, maybe a tenths of a second, but it's not going to be, he's out in the lead by, so it's very incremental, where you feel like you're falling behind just a little bit, and you extrapolate that out 10 turns or 19 turns, and all of a sudden, you know, he's got you by a length, and that's all he needs to do.
Yeah, that's good. That's well said, and it gives me a chance to say too that I know you probably haven't looked at my game with Farm Boy, the championship game,
I haven't yet, no.
but what you just said makes me think of that. Because kind of throughout a lot of the game, I was asking myself, how am I not winning? I have tons of respect for Farm Boy has an unbelievable reputation as well. Tons and tons of wins. And he's a very great, nicest player I have ever played. And I've played
Oh,
with
good.
players. He is gracious, he's a sportsman. You
Very
wonder how a guy that's that nice can be that competitive.
good.
But he is. And he graciously said at the end what I was thinking. I've played so many games of Axis and Allies. You know what you always say when you lose? I had bad luck.
Yeah, sure.
You don't want to, but that can be poor sportsmanship, especially if you had better luck or the
Sure.
same luck and you say it. So I didn't want to say that, and I didn't really feel like that. It was one of the fairest dice games I had ever played. But at the end, he said, in that fateful the battle of the game was in round 5. Actually, there were 2 of them. There was round 5 and round 10, same battle. And that was the Russians attacking the German stack as they were trying to sneak by Moscow.
Oh,
So he went north. He admitted that he felt like if he didn't go south then, he was never going to be able to. So he moved into Bryansk, wondering, he didn't know if I was going to attack or not.
oh,
Well, I ran a lot of calculations, which is a lot of why I win with online unlimited time
sure.
allies. And I found that on average, I would only lose 1 or 2 infantry more than him in the first round or 2. And of course, in Axis and Allies, the attacker has a huge advantage.
Yes.
And if things aren't going so great, you just pull back and you make sure you set up a good retreat route. I certainly had one with Moscow being the retreat route.
Right.
If it goes good, just a little above average, you press another round,
Yep.
it a little above average, and then it's a wipeout.
Sure.
And Farm Boy, I told you, he's a great sport. He knows the game. And so he said the same thing I was thinking, as with a little luck there at Bryansk, I would have won the game right there in 5. So you'll like this as an Axis and Allies player. He had 1 AA gun. I had 3 planes, that Russia starts with.
Sure.
Shot down 2. So that murdered my offense.
Right. Yep.
And then my first round roll is when I went back and looked after Farm Boy said, you had a below average roll. I rolled under by 7 hits.
Oh, wow.
He under rolled some too, but I took too many losses. The dice did go bad there. And the funny thing was in round 10, the same scenario came up again. He had a stack in Bryansk. It was wild, and that one didn't go well for me either. So I had to replace the planes. That cost 20.
Sure.
And so that was tough, but I did still hold Moscow until round 17. So I'm proud of that.
Now, if I can ask, we're looking for that crucial round 5, round 6. How many English fighters are you looking to get up there?
By round 5 or 6,
Yeah.
English fighters to Moscow.
Yes.
I don't know how many I had there then, but and I didn't want to take them away from India because they're really needed down there to support their own troops. They can only fight with their own troops.
Yeah.
So I think I had 4 or 5 by then. Um, I'd have to fact check myself, but
Sure.
yeah, I learned that back to Classic. You had to get UK and US fighters to Russia or you were doomed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I figured out, I remember one thing was I realized that the UK in Classic could buy an aircraft carrier on the first turn. The US could fly 2 planes onto it immediately.
Sure.
So you
Lands.
had
Yep.
2 US planes in Moscow on round 2. And
Yes.
Germany just couldn't deal with. I didn't find out for years later what a bid was. I didn't know that
Yeah.
concept at all. And
Sure.
when people were saying, "Well, the Allies need a monstrous bid in Classic," uh,
Classic. Oh, wow.
yeah, I forget what number it was an insane number for
Hmm.
Classic, and I guess, and then I felt kind of chagrined because it's like, oh, I thought I was a really good allied player. Well, everybody agreed in the community over the years that the Classic was very, very unbalanced.
Huh.
So no wonder I won with the allies against myself. But
That's
then on the
awesome.
tech, I want to talk about the tech that you, since you're a tech lover too.
Yes.
In Classic, some folks may not know these days. You could acquire multiple techs in a single turn. If you rolled more than 1 6, you
Yeah.
got more than one tech.
Yeah.
And the heavy bombers were 3 dice,
Yeah.
and they could each hit.
Yes.
So you could wipe out 3 units around. And if you strategically bombed, you added all those dice up and you bombed their money away. They didn't have factory damage. Their money was just gone.
Yeah.
So actually the funnest, best game of Axis and Allies I ever played was when I was about 18 against my younger nephew who was about 14. And we both got heavy bombers pretty quick after the other one. So that game went for about 3 days, which was really long for that version because we just, as soon as we bought something, it got bombed into the ground. Our
Sure.
money was gone. Our units were gone.
Yeah.
I don't know how it ended. And I don't even know who won, which means it was probably him. But that one was epic. And you can't have that anymore because you don't have multiple hit bombers.
Right. Yeah. That one, I had forgotten I had forgotten that rule, and I played with a good captain, and I was winning with actually with a sub spam. He hadn't seen that strategy, and it had just dawned on me about a year and a half that KJF was absolutely the way to go. So I was just pounding away, and every game I was playing was KJF, and I love subs, so I was trying for that. And I was dealing with the rules, which is that they do survive. They're on the surface for the first round, and then they can submerge. So I was getting a lot of them hit, but I was also eventually took out the Imperial Japanese Navy, which was my whole goal, was take out the Navy and then get in there. And I didn't realize that if he bombed so in that game, literally speaking, if you put a factory down and you don't put an anti-aircraft gun in,
Oh, right.
you are allowing them to suck every dollar out of your income out of London, even if you're bombing Calcutta. And I'd
Oh, that's right.
forgotten the whole thing. And oh my goodness,
A lot different.
I was so frustrated.
That's a
Um,
lot different.
let me move on real quick to what do you how are you feeling about the franchise, the game right now with Renegades reprints? Or I think it's what I called last week's interview with Arthur Bomber Harris, I called it the third great age, or the third golden age of Axis and Allies. What do you think about the future of the game, and where is the future of the game?
Well, I'll have to admit that I'm mostly focused on G40 in the league for the
Okay,
last 10, 12 years, keeping
sure.
everybody in line,
Yeah, yeah.
making fun tournaments. But for several years now, we have needed a new global game. Something new.
Sure.
I don't know if we've ever gone 10 or 12 years like this without a new global game. Now the guys, Adam and company, produced Balance Mod after a few years.
Sure.
And that really, you know, the amount of games that are being played of G40 were dropping precipitously around 2015, which I think is when they made the Balance Mod.
Gotcha.
And then that just breathed new life into it. Anyway, I would hope for a new global game, but I know there's something North Africa coming out.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
But for me, just I gotta say it's the global ones. And speaking of that, one of my favorite copies of Axis and Allies is Zombies.
Oh yeah. Okay. Good.
Dave Jensen, the founder of AxisAllies.org, just unexpectedly sent me a brand new copy of Zombies. I didn't know it existed.
Yeah.
He said, just thanks for being the league moderator. Here's a token of our appreciation.
Wow.
I'm like, cool. And so I got that out and I played it with my son a couple times. And that game is incredible. And it's probably the best one for getting someone introduced to Axis and Allies.
Yes.
I think it's the
Yes.
easiest. But even though there's not a lot of territories, so you'd think, oh, well, Germany and Russia just in a couple turns, whoever wins. No,
Right.
because
No.
every dead infantry turns into a zombie. And so when the Russians and the Germans go at it, there's a pile of zombies that
Yeah,
that are
that's
really
right.
a buffer. And then there's cards in Axis and Allies.
Yeah,
And there's
yeah.
a card that says you can move all the zombies from one territory to an adjoining territory.
Right, right.
So all of a sudden, the Russians have a bunch of zombies close to Moscow or in Moscow
Sure.
before. So, but then it's that game is a hoot, and it's not just a circus.
Yeah, yeah,
There's a lot of serious
yeah,
strategy in there.
yeah,
And also, you take me away from my computer and my calculator, and I'm not very good anymore.
yeah,
It's a whole different
yeah, yeah.
game. And my son beat me. That's right, with almost no Axis line experience. He beats the ace
Nice.
AxisSupplies.org player.
Yeah, yeah,
And I did help him a little bit because, I didn't want to feel bad just destroying everything. So I'm like, you really, if you move here, this will happen. You probably better do this. And then I beat myself, but I
sure.
didn't tell him that much. He's smart. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, people were upset about the game. Some people had reactions. There was one person who's really high up that was upset about the game. And I thought to myself, well, for one thing, we're playing a simulation, and I do feel like a little like your dad, that if you really want to take this seriously, we have a lot of people that like to play the Axis. If you want to get into the history of it, it's a quagmire, because you wouldn't want to play the Axis. You'd want the Axis to lose, and you know, so just the fact that we're playing a recreation, and that I know a bunch of people that love to play Germany, right there could, on a historical level, really be repulsive. So the fact that we're playing a board game and it's fun and we enjoy it and we consider it a hobby, to throw zombies in isn't, I don't think that's a problem for me. And in fact, I'll tell you, I'm reading this book called Beneath the Scarlet Sky. It's about a kid who grew up in World War II in Italy, 17-year-old, and eventually, of course, turns 18 and gets involved with the war. Um, there were partisans. There were resistance fighters behind enemy lines. There was all sorts of stuff that you couldn't put on a battle map, and if you did, it wouldn't even come out right. How effective they were. So to I love the infantry bases. If you have community, if you haven't played it, there's infantry bases where they're basically bases where you train new recruits,
Oh, yeah.
new recruits, and those recruits are just infantry, and that's all you can produce there. I thought it was a brilliant idea. You could put that into a G40 game easily, or an anniversary game, and all of a sudden areas that were not that valuable could become, hey, if I don't take that area, it's going to spawn troops. So, like
I
Africa,
forgot
for
about
instance.
that. Yep, one of the reasons I loved zombies. So AA50 had a lot of new innovations, and that zombies game, I'm gonna say it's a gem.
Yes. Yep.
And I got to roll dice,
Yeah.
I haven't rolled dice against somebody very much,
Yeah.
but it's pretty fun to roll dice when you've got heavy bombers in classic.
Very good.
It doesn't really matter what you roll, you're gonna
That's
wipe
right.
them out.
Yes. Now that map, by the way, even Mr. Big was very impressed by the map. Um, so it's an eye popping map. Very good.
Oh,
Uh,
beautiful.
yeah. So let's move on from there to. So I just want. Can you explain your role at accessknowledge.org, and can you explain? I, I want more people to go there, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that. I try to use AAA on my software. I find it very useful, very helpful. I'm getting lots of views. I can do it at work. I don't have an internet connection always because I'm a UPS driver. Sitting in the back of my truck in a lawn chair, doing a turn, or reviewing somebody else's turn. So that's why I do more of that. In retirement, I'll probably do more on the board stuff. But I find the site, it's got so many articles. Can you explain what accessknowledge.org is, how it could be useful for someone who doesn't know it, um, and what you think the future of the website is?
Oh, wow. I think uh, I only know probably the half of it, actually. And
Okay.
yeah, I've been around for a long time. I mainly go after what I want, and there are articles, and things about other versions. I don't go into those too much, and I don't read the articles because I want to figure things out myself.
Okay.
But um, what you're doing in shooting videos and putting on YouTube and telling them about accessknowledge.org is probably the most effective thing I've ever heard about spreading the word. But accessknowledge.org to me is, I don't remember how I found it or yeah, what drew me in, but I think it might have been because you could play online AA50 for free with a lot of other people.
Mm.
And it probably wasn't too long till I found the league. You don't have to be in the league. You can just play board games on accessknowledge.org. I haven't done
Yes.
that forever. But when I found the league, you have a community of players that you can get to know. You know how good they are because of ranking systems. And um, that's just fantastic. And playing online Access Now has so many big advantages. Of course, you can play when you want. If you're playing Access Now face to face, which I haven't done a lot of, but it can get frustrating if they're taking very long because you can't wait to move your next thing or to roll
Yes.
your tech, or to attack his weak spot. And here he is sitting there hemming and hawing, and then he makes a move that you're really happy about because you can just destroy him. But then he catches it and pulls it all back.
Sure.
But so online, you can do it any time of day or night that you want. You roll all the dice on your turn. There's a couple of stoppages where you have to have an opponent decision before you can finish your turn, but those are not very often. So probably a lot of people who are interested in Axis and Allies, like me, don't have other people in their life in the flesh who know how to play it, who want to play it. So this is the place to go, and you could play people that you know. I think we've got
Right.
some guys playing Path to Victory that are friends or family members with each other. Oh, I'm forgetting a lot of things, but of course I'm gonna plug the league. That's where I spend most of my
Sure.
time. And so when I came along to the league, well, I played in it for a few years, AA 50, and they would just keep track of each player's wins and losses. And then they'd have a playoff of, I think, of who had the best record. So it didn't matter who you played. And
Oh, slow down a little bit. I'm just gonna pause this. All right, go back. You're back. Can't quite hear you. Um, your your audio's off.
okay.
Yeah, there it is. Yep, you're
Okay.
good.
So I'm not doing Access and Allies.org justice. Don't show it to Dave, but I mainly am there for the league and for online actually playing games. And
Yeah.
it's saying something that 12 years after G40 second edition came out, it's still being played a
Yeah.
lot on
Yeah.
Allies.org.
Yeah. Good. Yes. Now, I think if I can be so bold, I think that Ottobox has actually gotten quite a bit more love in the last year and a half than it had previously. And my thought was that possibly Andrew had inspired a lot of that when he did the 60 bid, and was pretty brazen that he would take all comers at $60, which I think was probably $30
More.
higher than anybody was giving. So I mean,
Yeah.
you could still go on and see people offering 18. I think I saw an 18 the other day for out of box, and I was like, you guys are way behind the times, because if you're asking for 18 as the allies, you're either cocky or you're just, you're ignorant. So out of box has gotten a lot of love, and I'm glad you're back in it.
Yeah,
And
actually that's a big part why, because we used to play with 0 to about 21 bids. And so Russia and India were so helpless. And
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know, I still won all the time with the Allies. So
that's awesome.
Andrew is
Good.
so classy and so humble. Um, but I'm partly coming back to out of the box, because if you give me your 40 or 50, I'm gonna wipe you out.
Nice. All right. Good. Good. And most of the people that I play as table toppers are like 60, and they just keep repeating 60. Yes, yes, 60. 60. It just goes back and forth. They're bewildered. But yeah, 60 bit.
My return to out of the box is not being kind to me. I bid Oistilo down to 40.
Ah,
And so I took the Axis. But I invaded France and did not cheat any units away. I took in all ground like you
yeah,
should.
yeah, yeah.
And I was only left with 6 tanks. And so
Oh wow.
I ran a calculator on that. By the way, I have a calculator from many years ago that's excellent and shows things like the percentage chance of each different possible result. Like you lose four
Oh
things,
wow.
you lose 3 things. Oh, it's brilliant. And I won't share it with anybody, because that's one of my edges. But
Sure.
I use that, so I use that calculator and I know that's a bottom 2% result.
Wow.
So I'm really going to be trying to come back from behind. I don't think I'm going to make it because Oistyle is too good to let me back in.
Yeah, I am looking forward to studying one of his games. I've studied Arthur Bomber Harris and Andrew several times, and
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to studying him, General Disarray, and then one of your games as well as yeah, Adams. So uh, yeah, is how difficult is it to go back to some of Adams' games in like 2015, 2014? You just have to get the right version of AAA, right? Did I lose you? I think I lost you. Um, okay, you're back. So yeah, I'm looking forward to studying Ostello and then as well as you and uh, so you had a 40 bit. Can I ask real quick, and then we should get on to something else real quick before kind of round it out. But what did you use the bid for?
He took allies.
Okay, and what do you remember? What he
Oh yeah. He took uh he took a couple planes to Russia to do the Yunnan thing.
Okay.
Um, he put an extra man in Yunnan. He put two artilleries up in Siberia. So
Well,
I'm in trouble. He's gonna it's a kill Japan first.
yep.
And my attack on Paris went terrible. And then it was even worse. For some reason he put an infantry in Normandy, a French infantry in Normandy.
Oh,
And then he didn't counterattack me on France 1. So I wanted Normandy on G2 because it was a potential landing place for a lot of UK aircraft.
yeah.
I needed Normandy to protect South France, and I had a pretty decent Italian stack there. So I attacked Normandy with three tanks in case he hit two. I could take with the third, bunch of aircraft. He hit 2 out of 3 with the
Oh,
twos. So there
oh
goes
wow.
two more tanks.
Oh wow.
It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Well, good luck. Um, so this is a great place. I was going to try and do something experimental and share a screen, but I'm not going to do that. I don't. I've already probably risked too much. But your favorite piece? I don't think we got to that.
no, he didn't.
What's your favorite piece?
Easy bombers.
Okay, you
Heavy.
you are also a bomber lover. Okay, tell
Yep.
me about
Same as
that.
they. Yep.
Go for that.
Heavy bombers in classic. Um, the range, the attack power. They can hit anything. They can hit the factories. They can hit
Okay,
subs if they have destroyers. They're awesome, and your opponent does not know what you're going to do with them.
so tell me this: well, how many bombers do you have in the game currently?
Well, I'm playing. Oh,
Oh,
now I
it's
am playing
against
out
those
about.
Oistello. Do you know?
Yeah. Let's see. Did I? Just the starting one. We've only played one round.
Oh, okay.
I
So
shouldn't buy one
tell
yet.
tell me the last game you played. Where what would you consider a lot?
Well, I have been playing balanced mod for years, and that's what the championship game was. And in the balanced mod, they increased the price of bombers to 14, mainly
Oh,
because at 12, a lot of players were buying almost entirely bombers,
no
especially
kidding.
with Germany or the US. Because if you have enough bombers, you can't even approach Europe. They'll just sink. They can sink anything you send. And the problem is you can threaten Russia at the same time. The US and Russia don't know what you're going to do. I haven't played against that, and I think I know there's ways to deal with it. After all, they can't be buying many the Germany can't be buying much else. But to answer your question, in the championship game, I bought probably 4 to 6 with the US, and that is actually kind of aggressive. Farm Boy bought 0, which is typical, because at 14, most players don't. They'd rather have a bunch of infantry. or an aircraft carries only 16, takes 2 hits, carries 2 planes. It's hardly any more than bombers at 14 was to kill that bomber strategy. I'll still buy them
Really? Okay.
with America,
Right.
and they
Yeah.
helped me to. I attacked Zone 97 with Italian trying to build a fleet up with bombers from Moscow and London at the same time, um, and sunk his Italian fleet a couple times. I know he saw it coming and was fine with it.
Yeah.
You don't surprise people at that level.
Right. Right. Um, well, it's I think we're closing in on or have passed an hour. I just want to look through my list of questions to make sure I got it all. Do you have any what would I think I asked a sort of a wild question is what would you what short of your fantasy Axis and Allies, sort of dream vacation? Are we talking Gen Con? Are we talking a gathering of the league? We talking a week in Bermuda where you all sit around on the computers and play each other, but you can see the guy across the lobby or something. Imagine a great Axis and Allies event.
Well, I hadn't thought about your idea about the league, and that would be the best for me because there are players that you already know some of them. Maybe you've chatted with them during a game. You just know what their records are. You've just seen some of the things that they post. And I'm so excited about your interviews because you get the face to the name and you get to hear a little about the interviews are incredible. You got to keep
Yeah,
doing
I
more.
will. I will.
And so that would probably be the biggest dream. But what almost happened a few years ago, one of the guys, I think it was Gargantua, he's one of our more flamboyant members. He or somebody, they had a 50s fallout bomb shelter in Canada somewhere, and
Yes.
they wanted to go and play Axis and Allies in this in a bomb shelter in
Yeah.
Canada. So taking a nice trip to I've never been to Canada, so
Sure.
that sounded pretty cool. It didn't really get anywhere. So
Sure. Yeah.
well, the dream is you've already had the dream. That's to talk to Larry Harris.
Yeah. Yeah.
At 14 or 15 years old, when I finally got the box and open it, and you look in the manual, and there's only one face in the manual, and that's Larry Harris. And then when the CD-ROM games came out, that was
Yeah.
an Iron Blitz.
Yep. Yep.
Um, you actually got to hear him talk,
Mm.
and he kind of speculated a little bit about different strategies that you could do, or just broad grand strategy type things. And after all those years, it's like, oh, okay, here's the creator. um
Yeah.
what does he like?
Yeah. Well, if you were able to buy a plane ticket on fairly short notice, I might be able to arrange that sometime because we're still play testing as Imperial Borders, and I would love to actually do some stuff locally where we had I think people would probably travel a distance to come to a game store that he was going to be at.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep, I would probably make the pilgrimage. My claim to fame there is back when Larry was coming out with G40, he was actually opening it up to players.
Oh, okay. So you're
Especially
on
on the site.
Harris Game Design.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I actually ventured over there, and the one idea he picked up off of me was to reduce the cost of AA guns to 5.
Okay.
They were at 6, and I explained why that was definitely too high. And I said,
Sure.
at 5, they won't get bought very much, and they don't. A
Right.
lot of players won't buy them at all. In fact, Adam, I saw him advise somebody after their end of game, and he was telling them all the things that he did wrong. And he's like, you buy too many AA guns. So
Huh.
anyway, they're down to 5 because of me.
Oh, very good.
Very
Very good.
approved.
Yeah, yeah. The thing about AA guns, I will say, is that when I'm playing against guys like you, that play a lot more than I do, and that are much more experienced, better records, all that kind of stuff, is AA guns are unpredictable.
Yep.
And I know that you guys have the math. I know they got the battle calcs, and that first round, you could have a good battle calc the first rounds, and if the first round goes wrong, you really have to recalibrate the second round, because what you thought was the range of possibilities in the first round is no longer the range of possibilities. And the big factor there, if you got you're against the Germans, is how many planes did you shoot down? So you get
Yep.
you get some bad AA dice, and all of a sudden it's a new game.
That's what happened to me in that championship game. Remember,
Yeah,
2 out of 3 Russian planes, some of the most valuable planes on the board, other than the Flying Tigers. Um, I still went round 2 and round 3. I've had so many experiences and out of the box of the Germans going to Stalingrad, taking all the oil money, Middle East. They can choose between India or Egypt. Just win the game. If Farm Boy walks into Bryansk, I run the numbers. I'm like, no, I gotta hit him.
yeah,
And 2 out of 3 AA, and I still went 3 rounds, knocked out all of his infantry, some artillery, and of course I calculated ahead of time that Moscow would still be safe. And because of my old nephew, who's bold fresh on the site,
yeah,
uh, I calculate 2 to 3 rounds ahead. What would Russia do? What could Germany do if they went all out?
yeah.
And nobody goes all out
Right,
anymore.
right.
And I think they should. I would. You march the infantry first, you catch up with them with the tanks, and then you build the bombers and hit them with all of them at the same time.
Right, right.
Nobody does that.
It's
Maybe
amazing.
maybe Adam does.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I actually, I have what's called Moscow math, and that's that I'm going to go with the assumption that you send everything there. You can actually figure out. You probably, if you sat down and said, "I'm going to go everything I can, assume that Germany doesn't lose any troops," and you could actually come up with a number that is the maximum number of units that you can get to Moscow by turn 6, and all you have to do is get enough planes to lend lease. Basically, they're lend lease planes. I'm not offended by sending British fighters to Russia. I did read a comment. I think it was Grasshopper in his day. It was like, well, it's just a game of sending fighters to Russia. I'm like, well, that was really what did happen. We should also send some tanks and some artillery, but they were pretty good at producing the artillery. So tanks and planes, get them there. But anyways, what I'm saying is that you actually have a number that you could figure out. And I think the number's around 93, if I'm not mistaken. It might be 99, but that's in by turn 5 or turn 6, the number that you can get to that's possible just by walking them there or driving them there or flying them there. And then all you have to do is figure out, well, how many planes do I need to
Hmm.
make the odds bad?
Hmm.
So, anyways, um, well, it has been a pleasure to speak to you.
I could go for hours.
Yeah, and I know you could. I will propose that maybe because you like this so much, I will propose that maybe we talk about your game. Because I would, if I did talk about balance mode, that's foreign territory to me.
Yeah.
And so if you wanted to walk through that game, that might be a future venture that we could jump into. So,
Oh, I definitely like the sound of future ventures. You bet.
all right, all right. Well, thank you so much, Gamerman,
Thank
and
you.
it's been great talking to you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye bye.